Disney TVA's most recent show, Hailey's on It, has just recently come out, and there's not a lot of people talking about it. Like, seriously, I rarely see people talk about the show. It is quite new, but I've barely heard any discussion revolving this show. So, I decided to give it a try, see how the show was, and report back to all of you to let you know what my thoughts are. Now, before getting into it, I do want to talk about the art style and the animation. Now, I'm sort of judging a book by its cover here, but when I first saw the trailer for this new show, I was not impressed. By any means. You know, some people thought it looked kind of cute. I was not one of those people. I thought it looked very similar to cheap adult animation. One of the futuristic characters from the show actually literally looks like it could be straight out of like Inside Job. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, if you told me that character's from Inside Job, like season 2 that never came out, rip, big rip, then I'd believe you. And it's not as though the animation is bad, it just feels very cheap. It feels like the show wants to focus more around its story and its characters. And after watching 3 episodes, I can already see what sort of format they're going with. And to the show's credit, they actually have a really good premise, where the main character, Hailey, has a bucket list of all the things that she wants to do in life. And she's not really somebody who likes to take risks, likes to get out there a lot. She's very introverted, which is a pretty good base for your character. It makes them very relatable, especially for the target audience. I'm sure there are a lot of people in the target audience of the show that can very much relate to Hailey. But basically, during the first episode, she is visited by somebody from the future, and she tells Hailey, unless she does all the things on her bucket list, the world is basically going to end. Hailey has to do all these things to save the world. And I actually have complex feelings toward this setup, because it feels like it could be something very grand. Like, you have time travel implemented in your story, you have high stakes that can come from every single episode due to the pressure of Hailey trying to save the world, as well as fight back against unknown villain at the current time, against these little robot things that like try to stop her from completing her bucket list. And that part seems kind of cool, but one thing that I feel like is a bit awkward is the motivation behind Hailey doing all these things. So Hailey, I feel like she's going to grow by obviously doing all these things on her bucket list, but it feels like it comes out of a weird place, whereas it's not something that she forces herself to do, step out of her comfort zone, but rather she's forced into it because she has to save the world. And the entire plot around Hailey is that once she does all these things on her bucket list, she eventually goes on to create a device that basically solves climate change, and that saves the world. Like, that's it? Okay. You already told us what she's going to do. Why should I care? I guess that seems like odd. That just seems kind of odd. Like, I wish there was something like there was a villain. All right, because there is still like this unknown person trying to stop Hailey. Like, have these little chaos bots trying to stop her. Like, Hailey has to do all these things on her bucket list so that she can, quote unquote, save the world because she gets rid of climate change. And it's like, your enemy is climate change? Why would the villain be stopping Hailey? That would just destroy the Earth. Does the villain want to destroy the Earth? Does the villain like climate change? Are they a flat earther? I'm confused. I don't understand. If there is a villain, why do they have these motivations? Like, the only thing I can think of is like this future person was lying to Hailey, because it makes no sense for there to be like any villain in this story. Like, why would there be anything that tries to stop Hailey from achieving these goals if solving climate change is like exclusively beneficial to everybody? It's like, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. But one of the biggest things that Hailey has to do on her bucket list is kiss her best friend. And Scott is one of the characters, and I think I should probably start talking about a little more of the characters now. Hailey, so far at least, she's pretty much the only good character, I feel like. I think every other character is just not interesting in the slightest. Like, Scott is her best friend. I kind of hate his design. I think he looks very, very generic, and I really don't like his character either. His character is that he's dumb, and that's basically it. Like, he's friendly to Hailey, he's supportive of her, you know, he seems like a loyal, trusting friend, but he's just like painfully dumb. Like, you can be dumb, but he's like painfully dumb, and not always in a funny way either. They have to make him dense enough to not understand that Hailey has feelings for him. Like, that part is fine, but he feels like so dense to like everything that's happening, and it doesn't feel like it works, right? It just feels like he's too dumb. I don't know. I don't understand. Every time I see this character on screen, I'm just like, you're so stupid. Oh my gosh, like, you have no common sense whatsoever. And I don't hate dumb characters. I actually really like dumb characters. Dumb characters are some of my favorites. But it just feels like Scott is just painfully dumb, because it feels like they can't do anything with him because all the stakes are on Hailey, and she obviously has to keep like this secret of wanting to kiss him or whatever, and it's just like he just feels just painfully dumb. That's all I can say. I could probably go into more, maybe some of the future episodes they like actually give him some more character, have him open up or whatever, but like he is just not entertaining to watch. It feels like he's just dumb but without any charm. Like a good character who's really dumb is Ed and Eddie. He's so funny, dude. That is a amazing dumb character, dude. And he's like more stupid than Scott. But Scott, when I see him being dumb, I'm more disappointed than I am laughing. And there are a few more characters, like you have the lady from the future, which only shows up in the first episode, at least so far from what I've watched. So she's not really like an active character in the show, which was honestly, she seemed like the most interesting character to me, but she was only on screen for like 3 minutes. You've got like this influencer girl who is also kind of painful. She kind of just feels like a worse Andrea from the Ghost and Molly McGee. Again, it still is very early on, so I could be judging too quickly here. Maybe they'll open up more with this character in the future episode. But what I thought was very odd was in the first episode, when she finds out that Hailey and Scott are not like a couple, she's like, hey, can I ask Scott out? And Hailey trying to, not let Scott know that she has feelings for him. He's like, sure. And then all she does is go, hey, Scott, want to go out? And he's just like, okay. Like, he didn't even think about it. It was just like, all right, sure. And it just felt weird to me, right? Like, typically in shows like this, they spend a lot more time, like, thinking about the romance. And this is another moment where I just like, why? Like, what? I'm sorry. Maybe it's just because of, like, I've watched other shows, like, for the Owl House, Amity and Luce, right? These are your two main characters that really go like and develop a lot before they like develop feelings for each other, where Scott has had like maybe 3 lines with this girl and is like, okay, yeah, we can go out. Like, he didn't even think about it. She just asked him casually. He's like, okay. It just feels weird. It doesn't feel like a very Disney move. I feel like it was only made to create conflict for Hailey. It just feels like it feels like Scott is just a plot device. He doesn't feel like a character. He feels like a plot device. That's so mean, but at times he really does feel more like a plot device than a character. That's kind of sad to say, because I won't lie, he does have a very fun sort of nature where he's very outgoing, very energetic, very friendly, very supportive. But like I said, he's just painfully dumb, and I don't understand why he makes some of the choices that he makes. And you also have the third character of, I guess, the main character trio. You have this character called Beta, which is just an AI program that's supposed to help Hailey move on from bucket list item to bucket list item. And I guess he's fine. There's really nothing special to say about him. He's like stuffed into this teddy bear so they can make him more marketable. And that's basically it. Yeah, I really don't have anything to say about this character. He's not really that interesting, honestly. It feels like he's just there to sell plushies. One thing that I did think that was weird about him was in the second episode, he falls into the water and you can like see his screen glitch out. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is a phone 50 years in the future. There are phones that are waterproof now. Why is he not waterproof? Like, he does have a water mode, sure, but it's just like, why would he turn off? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, yeah, I guess like logic would make you think that, but this is a future phone, 50 years in the future. Like, why would you not just make it waterproof? I don't understand. And like, how the heck does he like connect to this stuffed bear? I don't understand. That's another thing. I feel like the show is like kind of hard to gauge like how grounded in reality it is, because there are moments in the show where I feel like Scott falls off the roof of a house. That would hurt. That would actually hurt. But then he's just like, fine. And there's also a moment where Hailey is like flying around this like roller coaster, like the UFO roller coaster, whatever you want to call it. And there's like a ton of moments. It's like, how on earth could you ever do that? But it's like, this is a show with like future time travel, like attacking robots or whatever. It just feels kind of odd to me where they have like one thing happen where you're like, oh, that wouldn't happen in real life. Like if Scott fell off the roof, he'd have a broken arm. But then you could watch something else happen and it would just be like completely grounded in reality, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. Another weird thing, I feel like Hailey has it too easy, I guess. That feels kind of rude to say, but like literally, it feels like she's just given things too easily sometimes. For example, in the second episode of the show, she's trying to win like some fish taco competition, and the only reason she wins is because the judge was stupid. What happens is they make like a taco with like fish sticks or whatever. They go on this entire journey to catch a fish. Don't catch a fish. So like there's no point for going on that journey. Like it makes the entire journey completely pointless because like nothing happened on that journey. All they did was feed like a big fish Pringles. That's literally all they did. There's nothing else that happened, and they had like fake emotional moments where this phone falls in the water and it's like, oh no, he's gonna die, but oh no, the fish saved him. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. There's no point for them going to get a fish when they didn't get a fish. And then they used a fish sticks, and the judge was like, oh, that was a good taco. They win because they didn't try anyone else's. And then all the other people at this competition were complaining, like, hey, what the heck? Why don't we get a chance? And it feels like it's supposed to be more like a joke, but it's like, why on earth? First off, why is there only one judge? Why is the judge awful? Like, extremely selfish. Like, I got yoga in 10 minutes. Nah, you know, all of you guys can just go away. You know, you guys prepared for this all day. You drove all this way. Nah, I've got to go to yoga. Like, shut up, bro. That's so stupid. I felt mad at the ending of that episode. Maybe it's just because I'm like, you know, taking it too seriously, but I just felt mad. It's like, she's such a jerk. And then like Hailey and whatever his name, Scott, they're like rubbing it in their faces like, oh yeah, we have the best freaking taco. And it's like, no, you don't. Shut up. You won by default. Like, why are they bragging? I don't know. I got so mad at that ending, bro. It was like, it was just given. They just gave the victory to her because they needed to like check off something in the book. Like, couldn't they have had her like fail and try again? I feel like that would have been much more. I feel like if they failed her and then like maybe have to like try again in a future episode or like something, it would have been a lot more interesting. Or just like do it in some other way. Like just give them the victory in some other way. Like make them earn the victory. It feels like that wasn't earned. And in the third episode, it's like a Wild West theme. These bikers come on into this like Wild West town, and Hailey's acting as the sheriff for a day. So her goal is to get these bikers who are being annoying to leave. And she challenges them to like an extreme off using a horse, like the dangerous horse. There's a horse apparently has like put people in the hospital. So first off, I don't know how this place is still here. Did they not make people sign a waiver for that horse? Like, have they been sued? You'd think they would be sued if people were riding that horse, if it's put people in the hospital, like what? And then when Hailey goes up to it, she just, first off, she knows nothing about this horse. I just want to mention, she has never seen this horse before in her entire life. She walks up to this horse and she's basically like, I know you've got it rough, horse, you know, think back to your origins, horse. And then the horse like literally thinks back to its origins. And honestly, I think this is like a pretty funny gag, but like when you think about it, where Hailey needs to like earn these victories or whatever, it makes no sense because all she does is walk up to this horse that she's never seen before, spout some random thing, and then the horse is like, oh yeah, let's do this. It makes no sense, man. It literally makes no sense. It just feels off, I guess. I don't really know how to say it other than that because Hailey, she competed to get sheriff, by the way. Like in the beginning of the episode, she's competing with all these like 6-year-olds. You know, she's destroying them because they're, you know, they're puny to be sheriff for a day. And because she's sheriff for the day, the old guy, like the old sheriff or whatever, he's like, hey, since you're sheriff for a day, you've got to deal with these bikers. Like these people are like late teenagers, probably adults. And it's like, you're making a child deal with that? It's like, I don't care if she's sheriff for a day. You gotta do something about this, bro. You're the adult here. Why are you making a 14-year-old girl who is in a kid program that 6-year-olds would enter take care of these bikers? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And even Hailey points out, she's like, why do I have to do it? What if that 6-year-old over there won? They even make a joke about that. Where that was like one of those jokes where it just feels like, yeah, why are you making me do this? It doesn't make sense. It's just so bizarre. And it just kind of goes back to that, like how grounded in reality is this show. And I'm kind of worried that like a lot of these future episodes are just gonna keep handing out victories to Hailey. And I've been talking pretty negatively about the show so far. I will say one thing that I do like about the show is that it does feel like it moves along pretty quickly. Like the pacing doesn't really feel bad or anything. It never feels like they stay too long on like one joke. It feels like they really keep the episodes moving. And even though there's a lot of like very haha, look at me, I'm quirky teenager jokes, there's also like some other pretty good jokes in the show. I'll see if I can play a few of them now.
Welcome to the Tunnel of Love, the most romantic 6 minutes of your life.
And our birthdays are only 5.5 months apart.
That's actually about as far apart as they could.
So?
What's going on? Is Scott moving away?
I bought this houseboat as an investment. You know what that is?
No.
We're 14.
Do you guys want to buy my boat?
No.
We're 14.
And nothing could ever replace you. Whoa! A dirt bike for my birthday? Cool! Move, horse!
And I guess some of the dialogue and character interactions are pretty fun as well. There's a lot more that I could go into with this show. I think the last thing I wanted to really touch up on is that a lot of people are comparing this show to like Owl House, Amphibia, Gravity Falls, shows that have like episodic features, especially in their first seasons, but become more plot focused as they go on. So maybe Hailey's on It could be something like that. But to me, this show feels more like it's going to follow the Ghost and Molly McGee format, where I think the Ghost and Molly McGee is really good, where it balances Molly McGee's sort of lifestyle with the whole paranormal side of things in the ghost world. I think it does a really good job about that. And at the end of season 1, they eventually face off against the chairman, and it's actually pretty cool. It's like Molly has its own ghost form, so it's like it's not quite as plot focused as something you could say like Amphibia or the Owl House, but it does have these plot moments that it built up to throughout a season. Another good example of this would be like in Big City Greens with Chipocalypse, where you have this reoccurring character, Chip, that doesn't like the Green family and wants to run them out of town. Eventually, he inherits a lot of money from his father by taking over the family business and tries to run the Greens out of town by literally getting people to like vote them out of the city. And it's honestly pretty good. And I feel like this show will kind of do that format where we'll have something that sort of builds up throughout the season, you know, maybe just like a few little teasers here and there. And then like they'll have like one season finale episode where, you know, Hailey goes to the future. You know, that would be cool. She goes to the future and she has to do something there. I think that would be kind of cool, you know? Getting to see this younger character go into the future, see what's there. I don't know. It could be fun. It could be fun. But I think if you're expecting something on the levels of Gravity Falls, Owl House, Amphibia, you're not going to find it here. If you want something like that, this show is probably not for you. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, this show doesn't need to be the next Owl House, Amphibia, Gravity Falls. Like, it can be its own thing, I guess. And I think that's what's pretty rough for a lot of Disney shows nowadays, because we've had shows like Gravity Falls, Amphibia, Owl House. I'd go so far as to say, you know, Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure as well, where we really love these shows and their plots and their story, and that's what we get invested in. And I don't really think it's fair to constantly compare the shows. Like, it is inevitable, yes. It's inevitable it's going to happen, especially after these two shows just ended, and there hasn't really been something to fill that void of, like, a serialized show that we're really looking for. The closest thing that I might be able to think about it is, like, Moon Girl. I've heard some talk about Moon Girl, but I actually haven't watched it yet. That's on my watch list to watch next. But honestly, when it comes to this show, I don't know if I'll continue watching. I might like put on an episode here and there in the background, just kind of like check it out. But I don't know if this show is for me. I'm definitely not in the main target audience, and I can see that. I feel like there are some people who can get enjoyment out of this show, but if you are looking for something very plot-driven, with complex characters, and more heavy topics, I don't think you're going to find it here. If you want to check it out, you know, knock yourself out. I hope you have a great time watching it. For me, though, if I do continue with this series, it's definitely going to be something that I leave on in the background while I do other things, because it doesn't really seem like a show that I can really invest myself in. But it could be fun to have, you know, something like this on in the background, or if you want to turn your brain off and just sit back and watch a fun show, you know, maybe this is the show for you. That's all I can really say, though. Obviously, at the end of the day, no one opinion is objective. If you like the show, more power to you, and definitely let me know what you think about it in those good old comments. I'm curious to see what other people think about the show, because like I said at the beginning, literally nobody talks about it. So yeah, that'll be it. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you later.